Afternoon, folks. How are we? Oh, just in time. Bloody hell. Where is there? What happened? What happened?
I have not walked so fast in my life. I'm probably sweating and everything.
Did I not say 1 o'clock?
No, you said 2. And I said that's perfect. I'll have got my blog out the way and I'd have gone on my walk.
Wait a minute. All right. Not that I don't believe you, but I don't believe. Did I say 2 o'clock?
Yeah, because on the phone it was, but then I haven't seen any alert to say it was even happening. But I knew it was 2 o'clock. You see, because of the telephone conversation. But
right, I think I might have said 2 o'clock, but then I put the wee post out for 1 o'clock.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that, so I apologise, but I've got back as fast as I can.
Well, you were literally about 30 seconds late, so I'll let you off, mate.
Oh, thanks very much for that. That's brilliant of
So
you.
How did the walk go? How did the walk go?
I've done half of it. I'm going to have to do the other half afterwards, don't I? So I can't do just things in halves. It just means I have to go round again.
Do you do it as a 5 miler? You do it every day?
Oh, at the weekend, on a Saturday and Sunday, it's 5 miles, but during the week, it's like more like 3. Because I was going to say it used to be something that I did in my lunch hour. So you can only do so much in your lunch hour, and you also don't want to. There's no showers or anything at work, so you sort of want to take your time so you're not sweating really bad or anything.
Yeah.
So you do about 2.5 miles, Monday to Friday, and then 5 on a Saturday and 5 on a Sunday. So
that's impressive. How long does that take you for a 5 mile?
Oh, I don't go terrifically paced. So, well, although my pace is well out today, if I have a look at it, but it's usually about 16, 17-minute mile. If I'm going slow, it's paced at 20, and that's 3 miles an hour. That's not fast, right. So normally it's about 4 miles an hour, 50 minutes, somewhere around there.
No, that's impressive. Listen, I'll let you catch your breath. I'll just warble for a couple of minutes. Go and stick the kettle on and get yourself a cup of tea or something if you want.
I got a Coke from before I left. So.
Right, anyway, listen, good afternoon, folks. Apologies about the I was planning a waffle on Friday, but just I had some stuff kind of came up which I had to deal with. So yeah, that's such as life, as we all know, Del. Bloody life can come along and kick your ass from time to time, can't it?
Oh, I'm so familiar with things kicking my ass at the moment, and yeah, I really am. But I'm alive. I have to look at these things and go, do you know what? They kick you up the arse, but it's how quickly can I get back up? So,
I think sometimes, it's very, very easy for obvious reasons to get when things come along and things aren't going your way, whatever it is. It's very easy to get very despondent and just to feel like life sucks and why me and all that. And I think there's one, I can't remember who it was, when I had a bit of, for Christ's sake, where are you going now?
You told me to get ready.
All right, that's...
I've got to put a cap on, ain't I?
Go on then, what does that say? I know it all. I just can't remember it all. I know a few people like that, mate. Like that.
I had that on in one of my blogs. Nobody commented. And then I got my hair cut and I thought I can't be asked to wear it anymore. But you got a cap on, you see. So I thought, well.
Did I let you see my new Space Invaders t-shirt?
Do you know what? I have not seen your Space Invaders. Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, bloody 20 times. Don't want to see that.
Right, okay. I was going to go and dig out the drawer and let you see, but
did you get it in London? Just out of interest. Oh, you did you? Oh, yeah, right.
How did you know? How did you know that? What the hell?
It's just a sod, it's just lucky guess, I suppose. You know what I mean?
But life does. We've all been there. We've all fucking hit what you think's rock bottom. And a couple of things that I always think is, and somebody again, it was a couple of people on YouTube said these things to me. See, when you're at rock bottom, there's only one way to go. That's exactly. Just always think about that. And another thing is, it's an old cliche. Life is full of ups and downs, and there is nothing more true when you're in a good point in your life where everything's going great, the job's fantastic, everything's brilliant, there's nothing more certain than someone's going to come along and just fuck all that up. But then equally, it's these bad times are always temporary. I mean, obviously, certain things are not. You're losing a loved one with bloody cancer or something, but these bad times are always temporary, and you always bounce back. If you're a positive person, and you always bounce back, mate. But I don't mean to minimalise what you're going through at the moment, mate. But I know it's.
I think the hardest thing about when you're down, or somebody has knocked you down, or you've been kicked down, or whatever, it's everybody around you is in a different place. Some of them are starting anew, and you go, oh, bloody hell, that's what I'm trying to do now, but I can't get on that ladder at the moment. Or my life is going along tickety-boo, thank you very much. And then they post everything everywhere, like I'm having my dinner with my wife, thanks very much, wife, for my dinner. And they're sitting right in front of you, and you go, flipping heck, get a life, will you? Oh, you know what I mean? It's all of those things. Like I mentioned something a couple of hours ago in my blog where I was watching your Starcade, and a couple of hours beforehand, I was looking at my LinkedIn to see if I could do anything tomorrow to try and change my situation. And I noticed that somebody I could link with was a person that two-pid over with me, only she's been made manager. And I'm just thinking, bloody hell, there's another reminder. And yet, you know what I mean? My whole battle at the moment is about my role, and this person transferred across and wasn't a manager at that point and is a manager now. And I'm going, so why is it so bloody difficult? It's just another reminder, another kick in the face, So that's all I've got to say about it. It's just.
I think sometimes when you're going through the kind of mill, it's easy to just spot every negative thing. They seem to kind of amplify themselves, and sometimes it's hard to actually to kind of step back from it all and think, I'm not saying it's not all bad, but it's sometimes hard to see the positives because you become so self-consumed with all the shit that's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the type of person that basically wants the good in everybody. So I like to celebrate that people's successes, and I like to reassure people when they're on their downs. I've tended to be in this job now for nearly 10 years. It's 10 years next month. So I haven't been down like this in 10 years. Now, some people might think that that's a bloody good thing. I mean, obviously I've had downs. I mean, my father's died in between those years, and all of that sort of stuff. But what I'm trying to say is those sort of things I have no sort of control with. The thing I hate about the situation I'm in at the moment is the management that's above the team that I work in do have control. They just don't care. And that's what makes you feel resentful. And that's the pain I'm in at the moment. So, I will bounce back. I am not giving up. I've just got to keep moving forward. It's a bit like that Rocky, it's how you've just been hit, get up, wake up, get up. And that's what I do every day. Every day's a reset.
Yeah. It's like a cliche, but it's not how many times you get knocked down. It's you just keep getting up again. And if you're a fighter,
I think we've been managers for too long, haven't we? We've all got those little slogans, haven't we? That managers like to use, like to game of two halves, blah 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 blah. All of that.
The thing that they use all the time at work, and I bloody hate it, is piece of work. Fuck off. Yeah. Who's got this piece of work? Where did that come from, eh? Piece of work.
Because they always think of everything as a jigsaw puzzle.
I remember years ago being asked to do something by a manager, and I can't remember what the hell. It doesn't matter what it was. And I says, it's impossible. It says, what you're asking for is impossible. And he says, Alan, nothing is impossible. I thought, fuck off.
That's a mindset. And you just go, yeah.
So anyway, like I say, apologies for being a bit. I'll be like James Corden. I'm never off your bloody TV. I mean, I'm going to be back on tonight, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Depending on how this waffle goes, we might just run right into that. But I'm not planning to run this for any more than about an hour. We'll just see
Oh, I thought you were going to say then I've got to get my MAME open and start playing games, because that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Because we'll play the same game and I'll get to level 4 and you can try and get to level 2 stage. And people can choose which channel. Be like stereo.
Oh, man, I've read more up to date jokes at the Christmas crackers, mate. Honestly, Jesus.
I know. We haven't we had. Now I've told people in my blog. I said I have this conversation with my host. I said this joke is getting old. It's just that there are so many open signs for me to start it up again that you give me that I have to do.
Like every Sunday live stream, you mean?
Yeah, that sort of thing. Or somebody will mention it in the stream before I even say a thing, and then it just starts off again.
See, there's a good lad, Mr. Flanagan. It's like, Ferrero Rocher, you're spoiling us, Alan. Eh? What can I say? What can I say?
What is it going to be tonight then? Because you haven't told me.
What we talking about today?
Well, you finished your 40 years of.
Well, obviously you've not been paying attention to Facebook. I'm just going for some arcade games tonight. People fire out some.
I haven't had the alert. I go to Facebook all the time. It's still not showing now. I had to open up Facebook to get this link, and it's not there.
Yep. Colin's on it. He knows arcade action. Yeah, I thought, I was actually thinking, let's do a ZX81 special, but I know how these ones tend to go. The emulation of these things can be a bit hit or miss, and it's going to be me faffing about, probably not playing much. I thought we'll just have a nice night, play some arcade games, and then I'll think of something else for next week.
It's not going to be that big battle of me having a notepad open again and start writing down lots of bloody games, and then having to post it and say, right, what's the next one? And you take 30 seconds to see what I've actually put on.
Well, possibly. That's probably how it will go, mate.
I'll prepare myself then. Right.
Yeah. So anyway, just a wee recap on what I've been up to in the last week. Last weekend, I was supporting a guy for the West Highland Way race. If you don't know what the West Highland Way, it's an ancient pathway, whatever you want call it. Starts at the sort of north of Glasgow, Mulgai, and it finishes in Fort William. It's 96 miles, and it's over. You go past Loch Lomond. It's not a path. There's bits of it. They're completely unrunnable. You're climbing. You're basically on all fours. You've got the Loch Lomond on your left, and the last time I did it, I actually came across a couple of mountain goats. You know what I mean? It's one of my favourite parts of the world. So this is an annual race. It always starts on the longest or the Saturday nearest to the longest day, so that you've got maximum or minimum darkness. It starts at 1 a.m. Mulgai train station, and I says that by the time it gets to 3 o'clock in the morning, it's starting to get light. So I've not done the race for a few years. I'm not fit enough to do it. I would like to go back and do it again if I can muster the energy to get fit again. But I thought to myself, right, I'm going to. It's an amazing experience. Seeing people, everyday normal people like me and you accomplish incredible things. It's a brilliant thing. So I wanted to be part of it. So there's various checkpoints along the way. There's about 4 or 5 checkpoints along the way, and obviously it requires volunteers for the timing chips and drop bags, and the organisation is phenomenal. So this year I thought to myself, right, I want to go along, volunteer, and I'll just be at one of the checkpoints helping out. So I was going to do that, and then the guy that runs the race contacted me and says, look, Alice, I know you don't want to do it, but we've got a couple of overseas runners that need supporters. Do you fancy it? And I'm like, go in there, all right. I says, who have I got? Who can I pick for him? He says, we've got this. We've got a guy that's planning to do it in about 24 hours from America, and we've got a guy from Ireland who's probably he's going to be one of the favourites. I thought, put my name down for him. So there's an ultra race called the Spartathon. It's 157 miles in Greece, and it's brutal. And Alistair, the guy we were supporting, or Al as he likes to be called, he was 4th 4 years ago, so he's not too shabby at running. But it was brilliant, absolutely amazing weekend. I mean, he finished. He would have probably been in the top 5 had he not taken a wrong turn. And he added an extra couple of miles, 2.5 miles onto the distance. So he ended up running like just shy of 100 miles. But brilliant, absolutely fantastic weekend. It's amazing to see these guys at the what we call the sharp end of the race. You know how they do it. I mean, the guy that won it looked as fresh as a daisy. He came into the sports centre, just it looked like he was out for a jog run, or not a jog. It looked like he was out for a 2-mile run, you know, around the park. It's just incredible. But what I actually found out, and that I put a post in Discord. The guy, I don't know if anybody's heard of them. There's I said, so what, apart from running, what else did you do? And I was talking about, I bought a guitar, I'm trying to learn the guitar. And he went, I used to be in a band. I went, all right, did you play pubs? And I said, well, we're actually fairly successful. He says, La Galaxie, Legalxie. If you go onto YouTube, you'll find tons and tons of videos. He was a drummer. I think they were around for about 10 years. They played lots of big festivals in Ireland. They supported Primal Scream, I think it was. They were. It's kind of. I was listening to some of their tracks when Amazon Music just coming back from Lee's house, and it kind of reminds me sort of like Human League type stuff. A lot of keyboards and that. It's really, if you're into your kind of electro synth pop, give it a listen. It's pretty cool. I mean, some of the videos I've put out are like, you know, they're professional quality. And I'm said to, we were sitting watching a couple last night. I said to Lee, that's mental. I says, to think there's probably some people who are like massive fans of these guys, and they would give their left arm to have done what I done last weekend. I was changing his bloody socks and drying his feet for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but to be fair, I'd never heard of them. I didn't know Al until that. But yeah, that was awesome. That was a really good weekend. And because Al finished in 18 hours, it meant that he finished on Saturday night, which meant I was in bed for Saturday night, whereas when it was me running it, I was 30 plus hours, or 30 and a half was my best time. So you were basically going into a second night. But what kind of is incredible is when you wake up in the morning. Well, when I woke up in the morning, Sunday morning, there were still people out running. You know, they've been running for effectively, you know, close on kind of 2 days, a day and a half. Just mental. Have you been up that neck of the woods at all, then, Adele?
No, but I've got questions and a task for you. So, well, first of all, after mentioning that, is this bloke going to send you a signed CD? Just first of all.
I'm sure I could get one.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I think that it'd like that, and if you like that type of music, I'd have thought you'd have asked for one. But I've got a task for you, because in the Waffle, you happen to say I am biased, and when I went on that run, you tend to find that you go up this big hill, sunrise, and it's the most beautiful sight, and there ain't nowhere in the world better than this sight and everything.
Yeah,
right. And I want a picture. So that means you got to get out of your bed, off your ass, back to that place, and as sunrise is coming up, I want to see a picture of this view, because I literally do want to see what the sunrise is like from this view that you talked about, because I can't imagine it. Right?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously
that's the task, and the question. That I'm sure that you've answered it before, but have you ever thought about going into one of them He-Man things, you know, where you do a run and then go for a swim and then get on a bike, and you've got to do these laps of it? And, try out one of these. I think they call them He-Man events or something, don't they?
Well, you get tough. You get no Tough Mudder. What, Iron Man?
Iron. That's the thing. You see,
I think. Even at my fittest, I think I would have struggled to do one of them. Because
would the swimming one be the difficult one? Or
I'm not. I've actually started going swimming again. I'm not a strong swimmer. I can only do the breaststroke. I can't do the crawl to save myself. I'm not a strong swimmer. I think I would struggle. I mean, I think the a full Ironman. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe Colin might be able to tell us. A full Ironman, I think you have to swim for like 2 miles or something. It's something ridiculous. I physically couldn't swim for that distance. Bear in mind, you're in open water as well, so you've got the current, and you know.
Yeah, it's usually across a lake or a reservoir or something.
Aye, and then you've also got the run aspect. Is it's a marathon, and it's up a hill. So I could probably, again, I couldn't do it now, but back then I could probably have managed that. But I would struggle with the swim. The cycle, again, I think it's maybe 55, 60 miles or something. I could probably, I mean, I've cycled 55 miles before. I cycled round Darren about 5 years ago. So I could probably do 2 parts. But
the swimming would be the hurdle. Yeah, that's what I think a lot of honest people would probably say. Yeah, that's the bit that I think I'd struggle with.
I would absolutely love to. I would love to have been to do something like that. But you were what I was out with my mate that I run with all the time. I kind of lost touch with him for a couple of years through COVID, like a lot of people losing touch with things. I got back in touch with him about a couple of months ago, so we've started going swimming. We're swimming on Thursday, and like everybody, he's put a bit of weight on and all that. I thought, right, I says, I really, after the thing about the West Highland Way, when you come away from that, you're like, I want to do that again. I want to do it again because you just get the bug. And it's quite funny because, I mean, and I was quite pleased to hear Alistair say that when he finished the race, it finishes in the sports centre in Fort William. And you come into the hall and there's a big kind of inflatable finish sign, and he ran to the finish and he sat down and I said, "You all right?" He went, "Oh, I feel really sick. And he says, "Oh, can you go and get the medic?" So the medic came in. He said, what's up? He went, "I just feel really sick." He says, "Right, stand up." He went, "I can't stand up." He says, right, Al and Pete, you go on, you lift him up. So we lifted him up.
Yeah.
And he says, "What's your name?" He went, "Alistair." He says, "Where are you?" He goes, "Fort William." "What have you just done?" He goes, "The West Highland Way." "Right, okay." He says, "Right, what I need you guys to do is to walk him round the chairs." So I can walk him, I'm keeping him on his feet. And then I eventually sat and I went, "Fucking hell." I said, "You've just fucking ran 97 miles and you're fucking wanting me to carry you around a couple of chairs."
His stomach was probably in knots, I suppose. It was about.
What's that?
I suppose his stomach was in knots. I suppose his blood was deoxygenized.
That's the thing. I mean, it's you've got to respect people like him because he's doing it in half the time that I could do it in. So it's probably going to take I wouldn't say it's going to take a hell of a lot out of you. But then conversely, people like me who are on their feet for twice the length of time, that takes a bit of thing as well. But anyway, after it, he said that is one of the hardest races I have ever done. He says, utter respect to the course. He says it's brutal. And that's good because I've heard a few people say to me, I've heard that wrestling was quite easy. You're like, fucking, have you done it? Not fucking hell, can you say that? But then I said to him, "Are you going to do it again?" He went, "No, fucking no chance." He put a post on Friday. I've got the bug. I think I might be back in a couple of years' time. So
yeah.
He's looking to return. But just quickly, before we move on to something else, I said to my mate Tommy, I says, like, I really fancy doing that. I says, but there's been a race that we've talked about doing for a couple of years, and we've never got round to it. But I quite fancy putting my name down for it. I think it's about 100 quid to do it, paying it. It's called Coast to Coast, and it basically you go from. It's called. I'm sure it's called Coast to Coast, but you what do you call it? You start off, you kayak for 2 miles, the two of you in one kayak. Then you cycle for, 30 miles, and then you've got like a half marathon, and then you camp overnight, and then you've got the same again going back the way. So
cool. Yeah.
I think I need something like that. There's nothing that inspires you more to get out and run as when you know that you've paid money for something and you've got that, that next September you've got to be in
incentive,
the right frame of mind. And
it's that incentive part of everything.
Aye.
Tell me, how did he pace himself? Did he have any type of watch on that sort of like?
Oh yeah. He had. I don't know what it was. It wasn't.
That's what I was going to ask you. You see, now I've talked to you before. I said I'm into my Garmin watches, and this is one that's sponsored by those Ironman events. I wanted to know, did he have a Garmin on? But you haven't got that info. Wow, stuff.
He's definitely got the one that he has. It actually has its own little. You can upload a kind of route into it, and it will show you roughly turn left. It doesn't. It's
Yeah.
not direction by direction.
Mine's also got a little arrow at the top so that when you're moving around, it tells you got to go left. So that's what this is. Yeah.
Aye. Afternoon, LFC. How are you, buddy? So no, that's good. And then what did I have?
It's been a while since I did marathons. I mean, I've done a couple of marathons through my life.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, but then they changed the bloody name to Snickers, and I stopped. You see, now you got to get the best ones in. You got to get the best ones in. I told you, Alan, it's timing. Anyway, go on.
Fucking hell. Aye, so on Wednesday or on Tuesday, Lee phoned me and she says, got a couple of tickets for the Eagles concert. Do you fancy it? I went, yeah. So we went to, it was in Murrayfield on Wednesday, and we were row D. Now I thought, and I mean it was our brother had bought tickets, and he couldn't go. So there were 100 and what were they called? There were 103 pounds, I think it was. You're thinking we're going to get a cracking seat for that, fourth row for the front. No, it didn't work like that. We were on the pitch, and there's like a square, of seats. So we were basically, I would say, we were more than halfway back from the stage, and that was bad enough. I mean, it could have literally been anybody on the stage, and you wouldn't know. You've got these big screens, but but the thing that annoyed us was in the middle of the pitch, they had this big enclosure with lights and presumably cameras and a projector. We could literally only see half the screen. We could only see half the stage.
It was the same at Live Aid. Live Aid.
Aye.
When I went to Live Aid, because I went on the train, and it was whoever got there first. There was no, because it was a freebie thing. Well, not a freebie thing, but you know what I mean. It was like a free for all event. There wasn't any seating or anything apart from the royalty or anything that could actually do anything. But they have the stage, don't they? And then they have an enclosure at the front, which seems to be with security and everything. Then you've got the special guests, and then there's a walkway with a sort of like metal sort of like sheet in front of it. And then there's the crowd, and then about halfway back through that crowd, there's a great big massive stand where they've got the bloke who's the sound man and the cameraman. And if you're anywhere near that bit, you can't see bugger all because you can't see the angles to see the screens. And so I totally respect where you're coming from.
What was Live Aid like? I mean, obviously I watched it on TV like everybody else. I had the chance of tickets and we didn't take them. What was it like? I mean, and who was the best act?
Oh God, you're asking me for that far back. Everybody remembers the start. I mean, you couldn't start off status quo. What was the best act? Well, you see, I haven't really talked about it in my blog, but of course I'm a piano player, so of course you'll probably know who I was looking forward to be on the stage, which would have been Elton John. But this was a global thing. So basically you had, if I remember rightly, Phil Collins got on a plane and then went over to another country and played at the end of the concert.
Philadelphia and
that was it. But I mean, there were so many good acts because everybody wanted to get involved, didn't they? I mean, Spandau Duran Duran. I mean, there was George Michael. There was Lisa Stansfield, if I remember rightly. There was all sorts. I can't remember if OMD were there or not, but
I don't think
OMD were.
No.
But the lead singer from OMD, he had set off as a single, hadn't he? As a single act. What was his name? I've forgotten his name.
Wait, OMD?
Yeah, the lead singer of OMD. He had a single career, didn't he? If I was a track of his, wasn't it? If I was.
No, you're getting bloody muddled up.
Ultravox. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah,
but you've got to remember that my brain's muddled at the moment. But there were so many good acts like that, and there were so many that I'd have listened to anyway because I was buying all of those now musics, you know what I mean? So even if there was a band that you weren't quite in, there'll be a track that you heard on the radio or anything. So basically I was just for the first 6 hours, it was like mesmerizing. I got a bit tired towards the end, to be quite honest.
Right.
And right at the end, I was going, how am I going to get on the underground to get home? Because everybody had to disperse. And of course, the underground is everything. You think to yourself, do they close the underground? I don't even know.
Yeah.
And then what if that closes down? How am I going to get a taxi? Because everybody's going to rush. And then, all you're doing then is you've ruined your own experience because you're worried about how you're going to get home.
Aye.
But the whole event was just great. Do you
Obviously,
know what I mean?
the standout one that people always talk about was Freddie Mercury and Queen.
Yeah. And my mum's a big Queen fan. I mean, she loved Freddie Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I mean, and he just knows how to get there's never going to be another Freddie Mercury. He knew how to get the crowd going. You know what I mean? I mean, that was around about the time as well that Highlander and It's a Kind of Magic and all of that was out, I think. So it was a good time, wasn't it?
I mean, Queen at that point, they weren't really as popular as they had been, were they?
A lot of people say that their biggest time was the 70s. You know, it was like Bohemian Rhapsody onwards. But it's just that I consider some of the early stuff in the 80s was absolutely brilliant. But it depends on whether you're a hard rocker or a non-hard rocker, because they sort of said he went a bit soft when Flash came out, and then It's a Kind of Magic. I think people were starting to go, well, you're becoming a very mainstream, and towards the end with Barcelona and all of that sort of stuff, it's very much well, this isn't what I was signed up to, and then of course ultimately the death. So you know, it's. I always look at it like this: John Lennon. I mean, what would he have been? Because Elton John did a track called Empty Garden, right? Because what he wanted to say in that song was the best was yet to come. You can't tell whether the best was yet to come or not. But from his point of view, he'd gone away, done a couple of albums, stopped for a long time to protest and stuff, has just come back with a comeback album. In fact, he'd finished it on that day, if I remember rightly, then got shot. And you just don't know what life would be, would you? And so you don't know if Freddie Mercury was still in good health for a longer period of time, and you know, got the drugs now that everybody takes, you know, to keep themselves alive.
That's the irony of
music would be like.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if it was now, chances are he'd still be alive. Eh?
Yeah. And you just don't know whether he'd be writing music now, whether his singing voice would be the same, because your voice changes. You know, so
yeah.
I mean,
I have to say though, the Eagles were absolutely fantastic. I mean, I think the only original is oh Christ, what's his name? Bloody hell! I've completely forgotten his name. Don Henley.
All I've got is Hotel California in my bloody head ever since you took the Eagles. I've gone, why can't I get Hotel California?
Yeah, well, Don Henley is one. He's the only original. Obviously, Glenn Fry died. I think it was 6 years ago. His son was actually playing. He played a couple with them. He's brilliant. There were a couple of other guys who joined maybe, I don't know, 30 years ago, and they were brilliant. I mean, they were all like crusty old rockers, but that's the thing about rock music. It doesn't matter how old they are, they've still got it. Just that, you know, when you see these guys playing the guitar and that, just phenomenal. They know how to put a show on.
The good news about that is that works for the Eagles. But do you think sometimes that if there is only one original artist out of a band that had 5, that they're still the same band? I mean, for the Eagles, it works, doesn't it? I mean, you just said it was fantastic. They know their audience. The songs speak for themselves. You may have other artists playing the other instruments, but it sounds just like it was back then. But I think there have been, you know, I think what did somebody say for Genesis? I mean, that's gone through how many different? I don't think people could even name who the lead singer of Genesis is for their last album, because when Phil Collins left, I think that spelled the end. Do you know what I mean? Even though they did go on. So, do you think that there's a problem with that?
I think, yeah. I mean, I would say that like most bands, so I mean you've got to respect the music, the musicians, and the bass and the lead guitar and drums and all that. But the vocalist is the sort of sound of the band. So you take well, for me, and Panther and I spoke about this. I was a massive Marillion fan. All the Fish stuff. I've never listened to anything by, I'm calling them the new singer. Thing is, Fish was only in Marillion for what, probably, I don't know, I think he left maybe 88, something like that. And he was maybe only in the band for 10 years. And this other guy's been in Marillion for 30 years. And Panther says that the new stuff, the stuff that they're putting out now is way better than the original. But for me, I can't bring myself to listen to. I'm quite sure that they're a great band, but to me, Marillion is Fish. And I think that's the same with Queen as well. I know, is it Adam Lambert? I think it is, who won. I think he won a reality TV thing in America years ago. He's the lead singer. I'll tell you what, I was watching a YouTube video a couple of weeks ago. You know what it's like, someone recommended, then you start watching it, and it was Stars in Their Eyes. And there was a guy that did Freddie Mercury, and I think he's gone on to have a career out of being an impersonator, but bloody hell.
Hang on just a minute.
No,
Mum, get that bloody roast dinner on. Get that bloody roast dinner on, I told you. Oh, don't give me excuses. Alan doesn't love you anymore unless you get me a roast dinner.
Don't listen to him. Give him a good slap.
Yeah, sorry about that. You always have to have my mum interrupt. Go on.
What are we talking about?
You said that Fish was your Marillion and so forth. Yeah, I was listening. See, I've got it up there.
But what I was listening. I've listened to about half your waffle from last week. I'm always a kind of week behind. And Milfy was asking about the dinner party, dead guests, and all that kind of stuff. Was there any musician that's no longer here that you would love to have, or you respect more, or you would love to have seen in concert, but you're not going to now because he's
well, the obvious one to me would have been John Lennon, because I mean I think that would probably be on the top tier. I think of quite a few, not purely because of what the Beatles are. It's just that people know that he was one of those type of characters that if you were in your teenage life when he died, which pretty much I was, then you didn't really know his early stuff because you weren't born when that stuff was out, and there's a big gap in between. And then obviously he's on a higher plane because then everybody discusses him all the way up to even now. I mean, there was Glastonbury on yesterday with Paul McCartney, and right at the end of the set, they sang together as a duet because they had a recording in the background and they duet together.
Oh, so John Lennon.
Yeah, John Lennon and Paul McCartney duetted on a set at Glastonbury last night.
I'll let you have a look for that.
So, but if I was to think about it, so other than the obvious John Lennon, let me think. I'd have to come back to you see, because you, just like you, I'm one of those people that am reading the question and then answer it a couple of days later, and you like to read the question and come up with the answer right at the time you've read the question. So, and I'm not particularly good at that. So,
it depends. I'll go ahead. For me, I'd love to have seen George Michael singing live. I think he had a most incredible voice. Amazing. Obviously, Elvis. That's a given.
Have you seen the new film yet? Have you seen the new film yet?
Is it out yet?
Yeah, it came out Friday.
Oh, did it? Oh, right. No, I've been. No, I think I want to go and see it. I think Lee wants to go and see it with our pal as well. So
I thought of my one, and remember, it's a dinner party, so it's not about you want to hear him sing at this dinner party. So I've got mine. You carry on with yours. Go on.
One artist that I actually disliked him. I just thought he's annoying. He's an annoying little twat, and he kind of bugged me. But now that he's no longer here, and I've seen some stuff that he does with Prince. What the hell? There's a video on YouTube, and I think it was for some Rock Awards or something, and there was Tom Petty and Eric Clapton were up on stage, just kind of smashing it. And if you look carefully, off to the right, you can see Prince, and he's just kind of standing there. He's sort of playing along, and you don't really see him. And so they're playing it, and then they move out the way, and Prince comes into the centre of the stage, and he just absolutely shreds it. I mean, the talent that guy had was phenomenal. And then at the end, we're actually talking about it. I was out on Friday night with a couple of mates, and we're talking about that. And he says at the very end of it, Prince is giving it big licks, and he gets the guitar and he just goes like that and he throws it over his head and walks off the stage.
Like, my friend is the biggest Prince fan, and he talks about that all the time.
Apparently he could play something like 30 instruments. I mean, he was so talented.
Yeah. I mean,
and he could write a tune as well.
Oh Christ! Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't know whether many people know much before Purple Rain. I mean, I don't. I mean, I only knew about Prince because I saw that film, and I saw that film because my mate said, "Do you want to come along and see this?" Everybody keeps slagging it off because I'm a Prince fan, and I mean, he duoed and changed his name and all sorts of stuff all the way through that. What was it? Summit of the News, was it? I forgot what he used to play along with. I'm not very good with. He played with a band. Something in the
Plastic Population or something, was it?
No. But he did it. I mean, it was Prince of the Revolutions, but he did this time. Oh, wait, was it Time and something? Time and the. Oh, I don't know. But he even did stuff with Sheena Easton, didn't he? The guy was a pure genius, really. I didn't like some of his later stuff, but there were certain times that I went, that's genius. I mean, everybody remembers Batman. I mean, God. So yeah, I mean Prince. Yeah, I mean that would be that'd be a very interesting one to have at a dinner party. Was Prince? Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I disliked him as an individual was, I mean, he was the ego on the guy. I don't have a problem with people. I don't have a problem with people having egos, because I always think that to be a professional sports person, a professional rock singer, or whatever, you need to be arrogant. That's part of it. If you're shy and sort of, do you think you're going to win? I don't know. I'll give up. You've got to be. Look at Muhammad Ali. We're both massive fans of him. He was the best. He knew he was the best. He told people he was the best, and people believed he was the best, and they were always going to get beat. But yeah, I mean, Prince, he was so arrogant. He was the ego. I mean, he was one of the first to kind of. I want to be recognised as was it an icon or something? Damn thing. He didn't want to be called Prince. He wanted just to be. Like, was it a P or something? I can't even bloody remember.
It was a symbol, wasn't it?
A symbol, yeah.
And that was something to do with his contract. He wasn't going to be a slave to the contract.
He
changed his name to a symbol and all sorts of stuff. Like I said, my mate was a big fan, so he'd tell me the whole history of it. Even if you didn't like him, you had to listen to what he had to say. So I sort of know quite a lot about Prince, but there you go. Yeah.
You think about like the 80s, I mean, you had Madonna. I mean, she was just up her own backside. It would have been fantastic to have her and Prince in a room at the same time.
Yeah.
Who would get the biggest change in the way?
Yeah, and there's so many duets that have been, and you think to yourself, those two don't go together. What the hell are those duets that are going on? But they happened, didn't they? So which brings me to the person that I'd probably have at my dinner party that's dead, and that'd probably be David Bowie.
Mm.
I think that they're probably obvious ones, because you said George Harrison, and I went, well, yeah, David Bowie.
George Michael.
Yeah, you said George Michael, didn't you? That's right. So I just thought, yeah, David Bowie, because I mean, I remember the early stuff, because my father used to listen to all sorts of different music, and Spiders and Mars and all that sort of stuff, which was I was too young to sort of like know. But then when I was around, he was doing things with Mick Jagger, you know, dancing in the street and all sorts of stuff. But there was no doubt in the fact that this bloke was a talent, and he reinvented himself and changed his image so many times. I'd love for him to be at a dinner party, because I'd like to ask him about all those eras and why he did that and
He
all
was.
that. So,
I mean, he was one guy. He never became out of date. He just constantly remodeled himself and reimagined himself, and he was always like cutting edge. And he's absolutely, probably of anyone, I would say he's like an icon. And in 100 years' time, people will have photographs of him as Ziggy Stardust on their wall, because he's just an icon. He was a pretty looking guy. He was very quite unique and odd looking, but you know, he was. I have to say, I wasn't a Bowie fan of. I wasn't a fan of his music, but you know, totally respect what he did. I mean, there's.
well, you see, I liked Life on Mars and you know all of that sort of stuff. And if my mum was still in the room, she's left the bloody door open, silly cat. Right, she'd have Roy Orbison. See what I mean? So I know sort of like I know enough about people to go, oh, I know what your choice would be, you know.
Well, Steve said, who did he say? Buddy Holly.
Wow, yeah, wow. Yes.
Aye, good. Just thanks for tuning in today, Mr. Renton. Hello, all. Stay away from me. I feel like crap. I hope you're doing all right, Matt. I love Roy Orbison, says Mr. Flanagan. So anyway, yeah, that was my and then on Friday I was away at there's a rock club in a place called Bathgate. I was there on Friday night. We were going to get a taxi, and then we found out it was like 15 quid each way. Now it's probably a couple of miles. And I thought, you know what, I've got my cook's soul on Saturday morning, so I said, I'll just take the car. So I drove, and there was a band. I mean, they were just playing cover versions, but they were bloody brilliant, really good. So that was
what sort of music were they sort of like doing? Was it
was
it like Travelling Wilburys or something, or what was it?
No, it's all kind of heavy rock. I mean, they played a couple of Queen songs. The guy looked like Axl Rose. They had all the kind of. The way they kind of shimmies a bit like what's his name, Mick Jagger. He had all the moves. But one thing that was actually really sad was, I mean, they have live music until 11 o'clock. It's only £5 to get in. In fact, live music from 8 till 11, and then you go upstairs to like the disco. They've got, you know, obviously they play tunes, and I reckon there was maybe about 12 people in the entire place. Don't know what it is. I don't know whether rock music's just not as popular. I don't think it is as popular. But I don't think people have really recovered from COVID. I think people are still staying away.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been into my town to say, because we've got a couple of nightclubs, whether they're succeeding or not, whether they'll ever survive, whether they're just surviving. I have no idea, I have to say. The people that you always used to know whether something is working or not is the taxi drivers, because they have to take everybody home at night. So I used to be able to, get in a taxi one day and I'd go, oh, all right, mate, how's it going and all this. And the first thing I'd ask them was say, been busy tonight? And, and they'll always answer, and they'll always say, I've known it busier. You know what I mean? You'll get the same sort of conversations. But if you ever want to know whether don't go to the nightclub and say and ask them, "Are you doing okay?" The people that'll tell you is the bloody taxi drivers. They'll tell you.
Sorry, Craig's just saying that it's not COVID; it's the cost of living. I think that's probably a huge part in it. I mean, I've never really been affected with like kind of what's been going on in the world with whatever's happening, but this at the moment with prices is just it's depressing. It's what was that? We're talking. So I completely forgot to finish my story about the Eagles. So we were sitting in row D, and we had this big bloody thing, so we could only see half the stage. So we were talking to a couple of people around about us, And then about 20 minutes later, before the concert started, this guy, right, on you go. This is we're going to move you. So they moved us, and if you imagine the distance, say we were 50 meters away, they moved us to within 25 meters. So we're really, we could actually see there's Don Henley, there's whoever it was. So we could actually see. So that was great. The only thing is the chairs, they're like wee plastic chairs, and they were like tie wrapped together. Now I'm not the biggest bloke in the world, and Lee's not the biggest girl in the world at all, but we were like that. And there was a guy on my left who was quite a big laddie, and you're like that. You're like,
yeah,
you can't breathe, and it was like you were just rammed in. So yeah, that was a bit pants. But we were complaining, saying, "Oh, that's ridiculous," and we got the tickets. I think Lee gave our brother 50 quid for the two of them, but the new tickets that we got were priced at 130 quid. I wouldn't pay that for it. And you're thinking, oh, that's £100 a lot of money. Then you think to yourself, that's a bloody gallop. That's a tanky petrol now.
Yeah. Have you just tell me something? So, because it sounds like you've been to quite a few concerts in your life, Alan, and everything. Do you put down those things that happened to you on Friday? No, the Eagles concert on Wednesday, should I say? Sorry, as an experience to tell people later on. Or have you actually been in a situation before and it's actually ruined your experience and you want to forget it? Because obviously being uncomfortable is nasty. But sometimes there are people that go, yeah, but I look back at it now and I laugh. You know what I mean? So have you actually had one where you go, do you know what? I can't laugh about that one bit. This happened to me or whatever.
The best, I mean, again, I've mentioned this a few times, so apologies to any who's heard this story before, was when 1988 went down to Castle Donington, Monsters of Rock. Iron Maiden were headlining, Kiss were there, Dave Lee Roth, Halloween, there was loads of big groups, and more importantly, it was Guns N' Roses' debut in the UK. So we were down there. There was 117,000 people. It's the Donington racetrack, and they've had this.
I remember this now, but carry on. I remember it.
Yeah, the stage at the bottom, and they had 117,000 people in. And rather foolishly, we were quite far. We were quite far back because being quite a short arse like I am, you can't see anything because there's all these tall people. But so we were quite far back, but we decided when Guns N' Roses were going to come on, we wanted to try and get nearer to the front. So you're pushing. Then when they came on stage, everybody's like, and you can, and now it was actually kind of on an incline, so that the stage was kind of at the bottom, and there was 117,000 people leaning forwards.
Yeah.
Now you can imagine the pressure on the people at the front. We were crushed. And people were screaming, and I just remember I was like that. My arms were rammed at my side, couldn't move, could hardly breathe, and I had a bottle of water on me, and that dropped. There was no way I could retrieve it, and all I was fighting to do was to stay on my feet. I knew if I lost my footing, I was dead.
Yeah,
absolutely no question of it. I was dead.
I think when you told me that story, we were having a chat and we were talking about Hillsborough and all that sort of stuff and fences.
Yeah.
And then you relived that event because I think you said that you're on an incline and you.
It's yeah, and
yeah, I remember now. Yeah.
The thing that I found scary, the scariest part about it wasn't so much I was getting crushed to death. I didn't think I was going to die through getting crushed, but I knew that if I fell down. Though there was virtually no way I was going to fall down because I was just like that. I was like stuck. But if you went down, you can't say, "Oi, stop shoving, mate," because there's 117,000 people shoving. And the thing that I found the scariest part of it was there was guys next to me, 6 foot tall, and they were giving it like that, whoa, and they were just enjoying the music, completely oblivious that there was people like me and other people were getting crushed to death.
I could just imagine Monty Python though doing a sketch about that. Stop shoving. Stop shoving. Pass it on. Stop shoving. Stop shoving. Pass it on. By the time it gets to the end, it's the end of the concert.
Right, if the guy at the very back just backed up a wee bit, then we'd be all right. But you know that the thing is though, I think there's certain people that there's a certain fuckwittery of people that I'm not saying they would deliberately want to kill anybody, but they probably took great delight in shoving and all that. And and as I say, the fact that there was guys and having a great time, and then Axl Rose himself started shouting, "Fucking stop shoving! There's people getting crushed," because there was people screaming. And I remember just somebody got a hold of my arm and pulled me, and there was a girl sort of next to me screaming. I got her arm, and we just got dragged out. Yeah. And I remember going right to the very, very back and just lying in the grass thinking, that was, I mean, so to go back to your question, yeah, it was I feel quite privileged to have been at that festival, to see Guns N' Roses first time they played, and, you know, it's a bit like a kind of Woodstock moment, but it was also the time that I thought I was going to die, you know, so it was, but I don't regret it. I'm grateful and I'm glad I was there, but yeah.
I mean, I've known a couple of people, well, not known them, but I've been to a couple of events where I don't think they quite get what a concert is. I remember going to one concert, I can't remember who it was, but this person was singing every song, right, that the act was singing. And this one bloke was just turning around and saying, "I've come to see the act sing, not you, love." Shut. It's a concert. You've got to expect this, right? That's what people do, right? They sing along. You know, you can't go to like Glastonbury yesterday with Paul McCartney and not have people not sing "Hey Jude." You know what I mean? Tough shit, mate. You're not going to hear him. You're going to hear me, because that's what the crowd is doing. You know what I mean? But there are certain events which are more intimate, and I must admit, I've been to some concerts with like things like at the Albert Hall. They're more intimate. People don't then start singing; they listen to the act. Mm-hmm, but I've always tended to find them both great. You know, open air ones and intimate ones. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to choose between the two, really.
I don't think stadium concerts are the best for sound acoustics. No. You know, but it was, hey ho, got a ticket for 25 quid and I didn't even pay that, so I'm not going to complain. And to be fair to the Eagles themselves, they were bloody brilliant. Yeah. They were great. So right, listen, let's bring it round on it is meant to be a kind of retro gaming type thing. Yeah, I saw a thing. There's a Kickstarter, and it's like a new Commodore 64, but it's a Windows PC where like a fancy graphics card, and like I watched the advert, whatever you want to call it, and it's like, you know, a picture of the Commodore 64 and it's running like some fucking Call of Duty or something.
Yeah,
what's that all about? Who's that?
Load of crap, to be quite honest. That's what I think of those sort of things, because I understand the initial concept of doing something like that, which is, let's have a PC that used to be like it was in the old days, one block of plastic that you just plug in, and the keyboard is the thing. But to put the Commodore 64 keyboard and then make it a PC, well, you haven't got any control key. Well, no, you have got a control key. You've only got 8 function keys. You know, there's going to be certain characters that you're going, where's the up arrow? Where's the fucking down arrow? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you've taken it one step too far. Now, if that had been a proper Logitech keyboard on top of a wedge of plastic that looked like a bread bin, and then turned into a PC, you'd turn around and say, yeah, that's great, I wouldn't mind that, you know. But no, I think they've done it for name only. It's like, yeah, here's a Commodore 64, but it's actually a full-blown gaming rig. You know what I mean?
It's just trying to irk more money out of all these completists that'll want to buy everything Commodore. Though that's got as much in common with Commodore as, I don't know, it's like
the Commodore phone, yeah.
Yeah. I know. I don't understand. I don't get it myself.
That's what I thought about that. I said it's just taking something a bit too far and slapping retro on it by using the housing of an old retro well-known computer and putting a computer inside it. Well,
what's your thoughts on the sort of these mini systems? Do you think they're good or bad?
well, I've got two minds for it. It's nice to have some. If you wanted to have a sort of like a shelf, and you got all of the different consoles all miniaturized going along, looks really quite nice. You know, it's like almost like having a keychain of every retro computer that ever came out between the 1980 and 1990. You just swap your key ring. The emulation in them is great on some and bad on others. So I could turn around and say, forget the bad ones. Take it like this: the Amiga. Let's talk about the latest one that I've seen, which is the A500. It's not a bad thing to have. It's got an audience for it. They're doing things now where you can play the CD versions of it on it, and you can. What was I going to say? I've sort of lost the thread a little bit, but you can put Workbench and do ray tracing on it if you wanted to, because basically it can emulate up to an A1200, probably even higher.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense for it to be a mini than a maxi in this particular. Sorry, we won't use that full sized, because if you've got a full size one, then basically you've got the full size one. With the Commodore 64, it made sense to have the full size one because of the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you can get away with it with the mini, I think. In fact, I was thinking the other day about having it because I've got £100 Argos voucher burning a hole in my pocket, and it would only cost me another £20, and I've got myself an A500. And I have a nostalgic value for the Amiga because I had an A1000. Do you see what I mean? I never had the 500, but it would mean I've got one I can plug into my big screen back here and play games. And it wouldn't take too much for you to have a Bluetooth keyboard, right? What do I think of minis though? In particular, I don't hate them and I don't love them. I've got next to none of them. Do you see what I mean? I haven't got a SNES mini. I haven't got a Genesis mini. The PS1 was slammed as soon as it came out. The turbo graphics, or was hard to get hold of apparently. And then they've turned into something that's now bloody expensive because they only made so many of them, and then you can't get them anymore.
What's that?
These little minis. So if you wanted to get a mini NES now or a mini SNES now, it costs you the bloody earth.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because they only make so many of them, and then the only people that make money out of them is cash converters and scalpers. So it seems very much like you've got to be on the bandwagon to be anywhere on this trip that you're going on. And there's a collection thing out there that says I'm going to collect them all. It's a bit like dinky cars. Do you know what I mean? It's just I'm not that big into dinky cars. I'm not that big into mini consoles, and I can do everything on my PC.
Yeah.
And I could easily buy the big version and have one of the special cartridges with an SD that does it as well. I'm in two minds, Alan. I'm in two minds.
I think we spoke about it when we did the waffle with Panther.
Yeah.
Who are these aimed at? I don't think they're aimed at people like us who are still kind of. I mean, look at all the shit that I've got behind me. We've got original machines and all that kind of stuff. I think they're aimed at the guy. It's his 40th birthday. His missus is like, I remember him talking about having a playing sensible soccer. You'll love one of these. He goes, I've not seen one of these for 30 years. Brilliant. And they can plug it into their 75-inch TV and enjoy the Amiga and all that again. And I think there is a place for them. For me, it's like I'm sitting at my computer at the moment and playing a Commodore 64 game on this doesn't really feel right. I would rather sit down there on my CRT and put it on. It's all about the screen size. I don't want to play a Commodore 64 game on a 65-inch TV. I want to play it on a 14-inch color portable. Yeah. It's all about
let's reverse it. I showed Ponder. I'm pretty sure it was Ponder in Discord. You'd have to go back a little way of they showed the prototype design for the Vectrex Mini. Now, they've talked about a Vectrex Mini for a long time, but this bloke has actually built one, and he's trying to get it out as a Mini. Would you buy one being a huge Vectrex?
I think I would, yeah, depending on the price. If it was affordable, I think. Is that something fairly recent?
Oh yeah, well, it's literally in the last 6 months.
Right.
So we've answered the question really, because you've got a nostalgic bent. You've got a Vectrex system. To have the Mini next to it is like, right, I've got the Vectrex and I've got the Vectrex Mini, right? So some people had a big Commodore bread bin 64. They wanted the Mini because they go, look, I've got my little Mini, look. And there we are. And you can just bring it out and do it. Your Commodore 64 safe, that's not going to get damaged, and blah, 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 blah. So that works, doesn't it? From that perspective, Minis work.
Mm-hmm. No, again, I mean, I think it's difficult to have anything negative to say about them, because you need to bear in mind that the market they're aimed at, they're not ridiculously expensive. You're getting maybe 30, 40 games in it. In many cases you can probably upgrade it. The irony is, I've just said that they're aimed at people who probably haven't played computer games for years. They probably wouldn't have a clue about, you can add games. Where are they going to get games? They probably won't do that. It's only enthusiasts like ourselves that would do that. I've completely forgot what I was talking about. What was the question again?
Well, no, I mean, I'll remind you in a moment, but we were talking about Minis, right? And you were talking about a little bit there about there's a place for them and that sort of stuff. And we had a conversation with Pat, for that's what you're talking about. But has the Mister destroyed the Mini market? And I don't think it has quite yet.
No, well, I would say for two reasons. No, you can't bloody get a hold of a Mister, because I've been wanting to buy one for, probably coming up for.
Well, I'd like one, and the reason that I'd like one is I'm in the perfect time at the moment where I could actually spend some time on the damn thing. Well, I always told you that I've got no problems with the Mister. It's just that I'm not prepared at the moment to spend 210 quid on something that I wouldn't be able to spend much time with, because I'd like to give it the respect it deserves, and that is, you build it up, you put it in its case, you work out how it works, you update it, you put the systems on it, you spend some time with it. And when I was at work, and I was during the pandemic, I had no time, and it would have been an absolute waste. It would have probably been a product that I would have bought and never went back to, because that time had gone, and I should have done it at the time that I had it. So I fell out of love with it. Now, that probably wouldn't happen with the Mister, but what I'm trying to get at is that's happened a million times to me. I bought a console and said, right, like my Pandora, you've got your Pandora. I never really appreciated the time with it.
Did you sell yours?
Mister. Oh, I mean, yeah, I sold mine, and I told you it's one of the things that I should never have sold. But I needed a car now, and that was to get to work. But what I'm trying to get at is, you want a Mister now. I want a Mister now. We've got a load of people in Discord that have got Misters. We had our reasons why we didn't want it a year and a half ago. We've all got our reasons why now we want one. I mean, I've got time now, so of course that's why I want one. But it's just now you can't get them. So it's like the little mini consoles now. Like, you can't get an NES, I can't get a bloody Mister. So you're bound sure to get one before me, and I'll be going bastard, and I ain't got one. I'll still be waiting another 6 months before I get to one. And then by the time I get to one, I'll be back at work, and I won't have any time to go on it. So there you are, sod's law. You know what I mean? That's how things tend to end up with me.
Yeah.
So
the thing about Misters, and even Raspberry Pis, unless you go and pay somebody money to buy a sort of pre-made Raspberry Pi, Misters are still quite a geeky thing, and it's not going to your average casual gamer who's not played a game since the Mega Drive. They're not interested in the Mister. They're not going to have a clue what to do with it.
Exactly. And I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anybody says. Oh no, Misters are not that complex. They are complex. To the general audience, they're complex, right? If people took them 3 months to understand how to put a disc in an Amiga when it first came out, you've got a bloody more complex thing with a Mister, which has got so many octopus arms and bolt-ons. Yeah, it's not gonna be a simple thing. And it doesn't matter. I don't care what anybody says. I'd get my head around it, but then again, I'm a sort of more techie minded. I think you'd get your head around it because you've been around these things for such a long time that certain things are familiar, and you'll go, "Oh, I know what it's trying to do now," and you'd be there.
Part of the thing about buying these machines and all that is the fucking about with it and getting things to work. And I mean, like the number of machines that I've like put custom firmware on, and it'll tell you, warning, this may brick your. Do you want to continue? X to continue. Like, here we go, and you can see it updating. And then once you get it working, it goes on the shelf, and you never bloody switch the thing on.
Yeah, and you got to remember, if something like that came up on your Mister at the moment, it'll say, "Oh, by the way, you've put the SD card in. This is updating the chip. This might brick it." I might be tempted to turn around and go and second guess it myself because you can't get another Mister to replace it. Bloody hell, what happens? What happens if this busts? You know, where with little consoles, you know, like the 3DS and all of that sort of stuff, there's tons of them. They're manufactured in millions. If I bricked it, I'd go, well, I'll go down and get another one. You know what I mean? You can't do that with a Mister at the moment, can you? Really, yeah. If you got one and you break it, you're waiting 2.5 years on a waiting list to get the next one. So
sticking with kind of like updated modern things for old things. I was watching your Boulder Dash video this morning, actually, and
that was a disaster. That thing.
Well, I mean that when I saw the title, I thought I would love an up-to-date Boulder Dash where they've like arcadified it, they've made it nice and snappy, maybe improved the graphics, had a wee kind of cartoonized Rockford. He looks like Rockford. This thing that you were playing is instead of a Rockford. I mean, I don't know what Rockford was. He looks like an ant. They've gone for like a guy, a character. They've just changed it. I mean, a big thing about video games for me is the character you control. If some of these games you get irritated with who you're controlling and stuff like that, but they've factored in all the downloadable extras and tools, and they've just overcomplified it, and it looks shit. I just wish, why do they do that? They're obviously doing it to appeal to the kind of modern gamer who want to be able to upgrade it. They want to be able to buy loot boxes and change how they look like and all that.
That's the thing that I didn't like about it, and I said I said at the time. First of all, this was just what game can I do now that's got a lick of paint that's really old, right? And I looked in my Steam library that's got over 2,000 games, and Boulder Dash came up because it's in the B's. It didn't take me very far to get down before I got to Boulder Dash, and I went, "Oh, brilliant! I've got my next one." Right? I couldn't understand if it's its 30th anniversary and it came out in 1984. It must have come out in 2014. Right, but it actually came out in 2016, 17, and then I found out it's because it was made for the mobile market, and they brought it out for the PC later on, and that's when I went, right, now this makes sense, because I looked at all the above, and it's got this gold that you can buy things and stars that you aim for, to get 3 stars. So the idea is you're going to keep going, trying to do that map to get the 3rd star and all of this sort of stuff, and those incentives, and then all these stickers that, you know what I mean? It then turned into why couldn't you just do Boulder Dash, just do the nice graphics? Because the saving grace of it is it's got an editor, and if it's got an editor, then basically you can actually rule out all of that stuff that I've just talked about, and you've got yourself your Boulder Dash with your new slap of paint. And when it comes to the character, was Rockford a flea? Because I'm pretty sure I remember reading the first Zap magazine, and they said our new mascot is Rockford, and I'm pretty sure they called him Rockford the Flea. But it don't make sense because he's in a cave. I've not understood it myself, is what I'm trying to say, but I'm pretty sure they called him Rockford the Flea.
Well, to be fair, Bugaboo was a flea and he lived in a cave.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah.
But, let me have wait a wee minute, I'm just going to share the screen. How do I share that? Share screen.
I mean, we both read the first magazine a million times because we've done game reviews on it and all sorts. But I'm pretty sure that when they used Rockford as the mascot in the borders of the Zap magazine, they called him Rockford the Flea.
Well, let's have a look. Oh, does it actually tell you what the game's about? Bunk.
Probably not.
There you go. This little fella is the star of the game. Rockford has the power to dig through the earth. It doesn't actually tell you what he is.
No. And I think it was Zap that named him the Flea.
I don't know. He looks more like a kind of ASCII kind of built.
Well, yeah.
Thing, doesn't he?
Yeah, like an ant.
He's definitely ant-like, isn't he?
Rockford the ant.
I mean, he's got these little things, whatever they are.
In fact, it would make more sense if he was called Anthony. Starring Tony. But there you go.
Yeah, I want my games, if it's a modern remake, I just want it to have the same levels, have the classic levels, 3 lives. And you know, you get to the end, you die, and you start again. But
I mentioned at the end, there's a Steam sale going on at the moment, and there's a game called Get the Gems, and it's £1, and it looks like Diamond Mine on the Amiga. Do you remember the Amiga had a Rockford type clone, Boulder Dash clone? I think it was called Diamond Mine. But anyway, for £1, you've got a Boulder Dash, which is perfect, but it's just got no editor. So there you go. But it is just Rockford. It is just Boulder Dash, that game.
Yeah, there's Matt saying there he could be a termite.
Yeah, they burrow.
Yeah, that's probably the most sensible one, I think. But that's, I don't know. They just games they overcomplicate games. They've always done that. I don't know.
But anyway, thank you very much for watching it.
No, you're more than welcome. Good video, mate, and it's always nice to kind of see. That's what I get to generally find out about games, is either through YouTube or watching yourself or somebody else playing a game.
Yeah.
You know, so good. Right, my next gripe I have got is called reoccurring subscriptions. I bought, and I'm going to ask a favour in a second. I bought a thing called Total Ad Block a year ago. Basically blocks all the pop-ups and what have you. I think I paid through PayPal, and then I was checking my bank account last. I think I paid £20 for a year. That's fine. And then I've checked my bank account the other day there, and I didn't have anything on my credit card. And lo and behold, I had £119 on my credit card. What the fuck is that? And I went in, and it was Total Ad Block. And I'm like, what? £119? So I went into the website, and it said that when I bought it a year ago, I'd got like 80% off.
Oh, right, yeah.
They were charging me £119. And of course, I'd only noticed this about a week after it had come off. So I contacted them, and to be fair to them, I said, look, I didn't want this. I didn't expect it to renew. Can you please refund me? And they said, yeah, that's fine. We're sorry you're leaving us. We'll refund you. And then the annoying thing was, I thought, that's fine. I phoned up, I think it was Wednesday. I thought, that's fine. That'll come back into my account. And then I went into my emails this morning, and in my junk email, there was an email from them saying, just to further to your email, just to confirm it's you, would you please click on this link to cancel a subscription? So they're trying to delay you cancelling it, hoping that you're going to forget. So it sends a code to your phone, and you've got to fucking put it in, cancel it. And then immediately I got an email saying, as a loyal customer, we would like to offer you like 85% discount.
Yeah. Why couldn't, when on the phone, could you just turn around and say, can we cut to the chase? If your last email says to keep me, we'll offer you this. Can you offer me it now?
I know.
Otherwise, I'm not interested. You just wish you could just.
Yeah. I mean, if it had been £20, I'd have been quite happy. And I'm literally looking just now, and I know it's now coming up here. I'm now getting pop-ups because and I'm getting a wee thing saying remove ads, total ad block, and I can click on that to pay it. I was going to ask, can anybody? I use Chrome for my my browser choice. Can anyone recommend something that's good? Colin's saying they just installed Brave. Is that on Linux or something, Colin, or is that for Windows? What? I just want something that's.
I think that's a browser plugin. I can't remember though, but I've heard of it. But I haven't used it myself. So
what do you use for pop-ups, Dell, or do you quite happily get them?
Well, I know enough really to sort of like stop the majority of them. Do you know what I mean? Because all a pop-up is an extra window, and if you could tell your browser only have one window, then it can't open the second one, can it? There's all sorts of things that you can do that don't need it, but I tend to find that they're the most annoying and the hardest thing to stop when it's on your phone, because phone browsing is just the worst. And then you need everything points to an app. You know what I mean? And the settings that you've got in your phone are so simplified because of the way Apple works. You know, I mean, ever since, even though Google is totally, Android is totally different beast, they do work similarly to Apple, and Apple is a simplified platform. So what I'm trying to say is, you could do an awful lot on a PC, and I don't tend to find I need an awful lot because I've got things like a hardware firewall and all sorts. But ads on phones are the worst. They really are the worst. They all go everywhere, left, right, and center, and everywhere. And then I'm probably going to Panther and saying, "What do you use?" I'm doing exactly the same as everybody else, going into forums, finding out what do you use, what setting do you set yours to? You know what I mean? Because it's not. There's nothing embarrassing to ask the question. I never understand why people have an embarrassment of saying, just because I'm an IT manager, I know everything, because I don't. You know, you learn from other people's experiences. So when you come up to me and you say, "Hey, I had this problem with ads," then how hard is it just to ask the question? You know, or where do you get your ROMs from? We shouldn't be scared. That's why I love Discord so much.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? But I haven't answered your question really. But to be quite honest, yeah, sometimes you're just going to need an external program, and people will go with what works for them.
You know, yeah, Colin's saying there, Brave browser built in Chromium. What the hell's Chromium?
It's built on Chromium, so it's built on the Chrome interface.
Right, and has ad blocking built in. That's good. And then Steve,
so if you go to settings in Chrome, you'll probably find it's down there.
Oh, good man. Colin's posted a link in browser, and Discord.
So what Collins is saying here is he's using a totally different browser, and it's called Brave, but it's been written on top of the platform that Chrome is written on. So in other words, it's exactly like Chrome.
Now, Steve 8-bit Gaming saying he doesn't get any ads on his phone.
Yeah,
because he doesn't have a phone.
Well, yeah, that's one way. Yeah, I got a Nokia.
I noticed virtually any. If you go into Facebook or whatever, and you happen to click on anything, every single like web page you come up with, it always asks for you to accept all cookies. You get that all the time with every single thing now. What is that? Was that a change in legislation or something?
Yes, it was a change in legislation where I think it was just before the pandemic, if I remember rightly, where the government slapped down on some terms and conditions and said that to stop piracy of and all sorts of stuff that's going on, you now have to accept cookies, and you must be informed that going to this website means that your name could be shared with third parties, which are their partners, and they have to acknowledge the fact that that's going to happen in this case. And all I tend to find is that I don't know why all the companies just don't give you the basic browsing experience, which says, I'm interested only in the bare minimum that will allow me to go past this page, and everything else, can you put to no, please? Because that's pretty much when you review, if you've ever hit that, no, I want to review the cookie settings, you'll tend to find there's one that says, you must have these, and then there's a ton of, or about 120 that you're turning off and going, no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't they all just give you the minimum one?
Right. I know.
Because I obviously want to go to that page because I've just read, I wanted the news article. Do you know what I mean? But because if you ever go to things like The Guardian or, you know, the Daily Mirror or any of those news sites, they all have a partner. They all have the minimum and then a ton of others, and they share their information with just about everything because they're a media firm.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the worst.
Aye. Do you say browsing on your phone is a pain in the arse now? I don't think there's any way to really stop. Is there? I mean, I've got an Android phone. Is there any like free app that you can put on that will stop pop-ups, or is that?
Well, I tried to use one, but it didn't work very well, and then I just stopped and just went, look, I only ever use browsing on my phone when I'm at work or when I'm on the move. I'm tempted to find that when I'm at home, I'm on my PC and I've got more control. So unless I wanted to find how to do something in Excel, I wasn't really using the phone that much for me to worry about an ad. Do you know what I mean? And most people really just want an ad blocker for YouTube. They get sick of YouTube's ads, right? You know, and if I see Dr. Hillary Smith again tell me about testicular cancer or whatever it is, which is the one of the moment, or that DJ that's spinning around in a circle that's saying you could have YouTube Premium, who tends to be at the start of absolutely every YouTube video at the moment. That's when you just want to throw the phone against the wall and just go, I'm fed up with you. And most people have got an ad blocker that they found that works with YouTube on their phone. Now, I'm pretty sure one of the people that's watching this right now or is in Discord is heavily right now trying to write to you, Alan, saying, use this.
I can hear it. Is your computer going bleep, 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 bleep?
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm pretty sure you're going to have about 15 to choose from by the time of the end of this waffle. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I can't inform our viewers at the moment of one that's better than something else because I have the same frustrations as anybody else.
Well, Steve's recommended Total Ad Blocker Ultimate for. I used to. It's on Firefox. I used to use Firefox, and then I can't remember. It just started getting a bit pants. I mean, it's been a couple of years ago, so I've been using Chrome for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Does anybody use Edge? Is their default browser anymore? Is there any benefit? I mean,
it's not called Edge anymore. I think it's gone. No, I think it's gone. I think they've renamed it again last year, if I remember rightly. But the browser wars have been around for donkey's years, haven't they? Though, so I must admit, it doesn't surprise me that Colin's using a browser that's based on Chrome, but is not Chrome. You know, it doesn't surprise me one bit. But I think I looked at a YouTube video saying what is the best browser to use now, and it shows you this timeline, and you'll have a look, and it'll say in this month and in this year, Chrome was the top, and then you'll see the dip where Chrome was and all this sort of stuff, and you'll see then the Edge, because Edge became the standard that everybody was using Edge, and I don't think anything's topped it since because it's just there, and most people that are using internet browsing are at work, and at work people give you the browser that is sanctioned for the company, and because Edge is in Windows, you'll tend to find people are using Edge. Do you see what I mean? It works pretty much like that. So Windows 11 has just come out, right? Well, it's been out about a year and a half. Whatever's using that browser, I dare say in a year's time, that's going to be the browser as standard. Doesn't matter. It's just how it ends up. I tend to find, but I was like you. I use Firefox and Chrome.
And is that the browser of choice for you?
Well, I use Chrome. I must admit, I use Chrome. I don't use Edge much anymore. It did used to be there, but I must admit, it's no harm to have Chrome as a little icon at the bottom of your start bar and just open that one up. You see what I mean? And tell Windows that every web link is open with Chrome. It's not a difficult thing for people to do anymore. You just say, Chrome is now my browser of choice. Bang. There you are. Done.
No, but thanks for the recommendations. I'll go and have a wee look. Right, listen, I'm just conscious of time banging on a bit, but I've got one last thing, and then we'll have a quick look at the questions from last week. Have you got any guilty pleasures regards food? And I'm not talking about like Black Forest Gato. I'm talking about, is there any food that people, it's like shit, it's like cheap, it's rubbish, it's junk food, but you like it?
Yeah. Jelly beans. Jelly beans. Those jelly bellies, jelly beans. If somebody's got a jar of them, it's like, flipping heck, I'm gonna have them.
Yeah, I always look upon things like jelly beans as like there's no fat in them, so they're not unhealthy at all. Yeah, Craig's just mentioned like he's saying coca noodles. What the hell's coca noodles?
What?
I've never heard of that one.
Coca noodles. I've heard of Coca-Cola bottles and I mean, there's one I've got here at the moment. Look, jelly snakes.
Oh, they're good.
And it says the natural. They tried to turn around and say these are good for your kids because there's no artificial flavors in that. And then you turn around and go, yeah, but it's still a sweet. You ain't gonna get past me that way. So
for me, a couple of guilty pleasures. Pot noodles. I do like a pot noodle. I know there's absolutely no nutritional value at all. And something I bought, and Lee was freaking out when I told her. She said, "What are you having for your dinner?" And I told her, and she went, "Oh, it's like dog food." Is free Benta steak and kidney pies.
Ah, right, yeah.
I got two for £3 out of B&M. I remember when I was young, me, my two sisters, my mum and dad, we used to have one of these between us. Now, I don't know whether they're smaller now, but I mean, they're tiny. And to think that was split into 5 is just mind blowing. But yeah, they probably are. They're probably made of all the worst shit ever. But you know what? They taste good.
Fray Brentos. This reminds me what my dad's favourite was. Now he was a sweet tooth guy. I mean, my God, he was as thin as a rake. Played cricket, went fishing, all of that sort of stuff. That's why everybody reckons I'm the milkman's son, right, or something, right? Because I don't look nothing like him, right? But he used to like, and they don't do these anymore. Not that I know of. They probably do. But did you remember steam puddings that you came in a tin and you had to pierce the lid, and then you boiled them in water? Right, and then you turn them and open it.
I mean, you push it and then it slides out onto the plate.
Yeah. Now, I haven't seen them in years, but my dad bought tins of those, and he'd have a stack of them in the cupboard, and he'd say, "Right, I'm having spotted dick," or he'd have chocolate, or he'd have a raspberry one, or whatever, and he used to he'd go through those things because then he used to work for General Foods, and General Foods is Bird's custard and Maxwell House coffee, it's that plant, and he'd make the custard up, and he'd go, right there, I've got my pudding, I've got a steam pudding that I've just boiled in the pan, and I'll use that hot water there to make the custard.
You've actually, you know what? You've actually put me in the mood. What were they? Was it syrup, golden syrup flavour or something?
Oh yeah.
You've put me in the mood for one of them, and a tin of carnation milk. That's what we used to get, carnation milk.
Sticky toffee pudding. You get some double cream. My dad was custard though, because he worked at the custard factory. So basically, desserts packing. So he'd bring tons of that stuff back because they had a shop and you had a discount when you worked at the factory. So of course you could buy jars of coffee for 50p where they're £3.50 in the supermarket. So he'd have an allocation of how much coffee he could bring back.
You're going to tell me he went to the doctors and said that he's a trifle deaf.
A trifle deaf. My dad did like trifle as well. He was a sweet tooth person, I have to turn around and say. But it was just, you mentioned Fray Bentos, and I know that those came in tins.
Yeah, they do indeed.
It's just I don't remember anybody really talking anymore about piercing a hole in the top of a tin and boiling it. You don't hear many people turning around and say they do that anymore. So
Brilliant, right? Listen, we'll crack on with some questions. I don't think we've got too many. I don't want to keep this because I'll be back on in about a bloody half an hour the way we're going. Right, Mad Commodore is asking if you had to choose, would you say you had more fun playing games during the 8-bit or 16-bit era on average? I think people know what my answer is going to be. 8-bit every time.
Mine's 8-bit. Yeah. It's just a very simple answer. It's just the time where our eyes opened, and every single month something extra special happened that they'd discovered on how to write the code for. And of course, everything was arcade stuff as well, which was very, very popular. And you got to the 16 bits, it changed. So
the thing is, prior to 8-bit computers, unless you were lucky enough to get an Atari 2600, we went from having these things up there, and then suddenly we could interact with the TV, and that was just the most incredible thing ever. And then, of course, every subsequent upgrade, Commodore Amiga, PC, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. I mean, there's your PlayStation 5 sitting gathering dust. That says it all. And I've got an Xbox Series X doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, that's it.
No interest at all.
So it's a very simple answer, and it's terrible when you get a simple question like that, because you'd like to go into more detail, but it really is as simple as that. If the older you are, the more you're probably going to say 8-bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, wee Bob's asking, what other walks, runs have you done similar, if any? Right, very quickly, ultra wise, I've done quite a lot of ultras. Done the West Highland Way a few times. The West Highland Way is 96 miles. There's an ultra called the Highland Fling, which is the first 53 miles you run from Mulgai to Tyndrum. Done that a few times. Then there's one called the Devil of the Highlands, which is Tyndrum to Fort William. So basically, these two added together equals the West Highland Way. I've done that a few times. Done quite a number of these things. I definitely want to get back. From a gaming point of view, do you remember any games that had that type of endurance aspect to them? The only one I can remember were the long 10,000 meter races where you had to waggle for a long time or tap keys. I do remember on the Amiga. It was, I think it was called, I'm sure it was Barcelona 1992, I think it was Olympics. And they actually had the marathon. I can't remember how long it went on for, but I think you had to waggle your joystick for a good half an hour or so.
I do remember Activision's Decathlon introducing me to that, though, I have to say, because that was my first track and field game I think I had on a home computer. And being Activision, you tended to run in real time. It's like, friggin' hell, I've got to do this. How many times have I got to go around the track?
Yeah,
friggin' hell.
Activision Decathlon, the 100 meters were fine. You only had to waggle your stick for 10 seconds. But then, excuse me, the 400 meters, you had to do it for about a minute.
Yeah.
That. And if you let up, you go, oh, you just slow up. Whereas for the 1500 meters, thankfully, you didn't have to waggle your stick for 4 minutes. Yet when the gun went, you had to waggle your stick as quick as you could, and then
keep it constant. It was just a constant row,
And then the last 10 seconds, I think the last 100 meters, it was like a sprint again. But the 400 meters Activision Decathlon was bloody brutal. But can't think of any endurance type games, Bob. Some of the, I'll tell you, a machine that I'm not a fan of really. It was the Wii. The original Wii, there was far too many shovelware games. But one of the best games that was on it was, what do you call it? Nintendo Wii Sports. Oh, what was it? It was the sequel. What the hell was it called? Can't remember. It was a sequel to it. And you had the bike and what have you. And the great thing was the bike, you used the nunchucks. You went like that to pedal, bum, 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 and then you went like that to kind of bend. And they had these different hill courses and that was really, really good.
Oh, if there was anything that made me know that I was out of shape, it is where you've actually been to as a sort of like an early teenager to boxing, And then you come up to Wii boxing, right? How knackered am I with Wii boxing? I'm there going, Jesus Christ, like this. And my arms are going, hey, now, have he done one round? Fucking hell, how did Muhammad Ali do 15 rounds back in the 70s of this? And he was getting punched in the face as well with it.
Yeah, it's called Wii Sports Resort. If you've still got a Wii, go and grab that. You'll probably get it for £2 out of CEX, whatever it was. But that was bloody that was really, really good. The thing about the Wii, yeah, it was great. We all saw the adverts of your granny and your uncle playing tennis. But then you realise that you could actually sit in your chair and just go like that. And you could still play it just going like that with your wrist. You didn't have to stand up and give it.
Well, I don't know though. If you had that extra motion thing that went at the bottom, I think wasn't that the thing that's supposed to make it so that you did do? It was supposed to make it more accurate. I know that.
Yeah, the add-on. Yeah, that gave you kind of greater. One of the best games again is Wii Sports Resort. It's got ping pong or table tennis, and it's bloody brilliant. It's really good. Maybe not quite as good as like the ones for VR now, but that was really good. But the thing that annoyed me with the whole motion controls, Nintendo. I think it's probably fair to say that Nintendo, their games, their Marios and all that. They were probably the best games on the system. There were so many really poor games on it, and when done properly, the whole sort of motion control can really add to the experience. But I remember playing a game. I can't remember what the hell it was, and I can't remember to sort of like open a door. You had to kind of go like that and like flick your wrist back, and you're thinking, when I'm walking about, I don't have to flick my wrist. I can just. You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to think about picking something up or going through a door. It should just be, and that's why there's been games you're playing. You're trying to pick up. You're trying to pick up something. You're like, "Fucking come on!" And that's a broken game mechanic. You should just be able to walk over it and it'll automatically. I'll go like that to pick up my cup and go, "Shit, I missed."
Actually, I think you've picked up on a good point actually here, and it's probably one of the things that we should probably suggest is that. If I remember rightly, the Wii had fantastic amount of controllers. You could buy actually a SNES controller for it. You could buy a nunchuck for it. You could buy, and I tell you what, I bet you those SNES controllers are cheaper than actually buying a SNES controller brand new. I bet you any money, if you bought a second-hand Wii SNES controller, that would work well on your PC.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably cheaper because there'll be tons of them. Everybody's if you go into a cash converters now, a Wii will cost you £15.
Is that right?
Guaranteed. They got millions of them. And everybody brings them back with controllers. Bet you can buy.
I said that I wasn't a fan of it. Colin was saying there that was his favourite console. There were a lot of really, really good games, but I think there was just so many games made that the majority, probably 80% of them, were absolutely diabolical. But there were some fantastic games.
It was versatile. I will give it that.
Right, Colin's asking, great answer to my holiday question. What about your first visit to somewhere outside the UK? I'll let you answer that one. What was your first visit to somewhere outside the UK?
Probably would have been a school trip if I was to really give an answer to that, because I think a lot of people that went to secondary school would have at some point presented you with the option of going to your parents and saying, can we go to France or go skiing in Switzerland or whatever it was. And I'm pretty sure I didn't, because my mother and father, we just didn't have the money to do that. But because I remember my very first flight was to America. So I would naturally turn around and say, yep, Florida, right? But I'm just not sure at the moment whether I did go on a school holiday abroad. You know what I mean? And that's where my memory goes. Did I go to Germany? Did I go to France? I can't quite remember. I remember my very first, my flight. So, because all school trips, weren't they always on a boat or through or get to Dover or whatever it was?
Mine were always on a bus.
not for you anyway. In Scotland, that's a bit different, isn't it? But
Yeah, now my first time I was out the UK was America. You're probably thinking, bloody hell, they must have been loaded. But just hear me out. It was 1975. My auntie lived in California, and my family. I mean, I can still really think me see it. My mum and dad. My mum was one of these people. I don't think she had a credit card. Everything that she bought was paid for in cash. So if she didn't have the money, she wouldn't buy it. She would budget. She would budget for everything, and they quite literally saved for about 10 years to go to
Yeah.
America. They squirreled away money. I mean, my mum was a nurse. My dad was an engineer, and they put away money for about 10 years, and we went to America. So yeah, I mean, I was really lucky. We went to Disneyland, and what do you call it? And it was a California one. It wasn't the Florida one. So yeah, that was my very very first trip abroad. I never went to like Spain or any of these kind of places with my mum and dad. In fact, I only really went abroad with them a couple of times, to be fair.
Yeah, never went to Spain, never went to
You
Portugal,
know,
never went to Italy, and all that sort of stuff. And when I went to America, it was Florida.
mhm.
I think I've told the story, didn't I? I told you I didn't take a credit card over there. They took half my money for the rent a car.
I remember.
You know, I mean, bloody hell. So that's why I said it tricks me a little bit because I'm not quite sure whether my parents did take me on a school trip. So I'm going to say America, though, was my first one. Yeah.
Right, the ever-present Milty Swinbuckle. He's always got some. You ever
God.
notice he always manages to shoehorn either two or three? He never just asks one, but that's great.
No, I know. And I'm just going to tell you now, his question will probably take you 10 minutes to read out, let alone give you the answer. Go on, Milty. Yeah, come on then.
Apologies
Tell
to
us.
Milty because I know he'll sometimes ask you the same question a couple of weeks later. So obviously you're going to be answering it in this one. What three things in the world do you hate?
Yeah,
And would you like to see change?
I did it this morning.
Oh, did you? You've answered that one.
Yeah,
Well, listen.
I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to let
No,
you
no, no,
talk.
no, 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 no. We don't want any spoilers. We don't want any spoilers. I'll answer my three. Right, not so much things that we hate, but things that you would put in. What's that? Room 101 or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
Um,
So I actually did give 3 genuine ones that I hate, and I don't. You know me. I don't like that word hate.
no, I'm not a fan of hate.
I actually thought about it and gave 3 that I'm pretty sure Alan would also say, yeah, I could use the word hate against that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll let you answer. So
I'm going to go for right. What was the question again? 3 things
in
we'd
the
like to
world,
see.
in the world that you hate.
I mean, I could say obvious things that I'd like to eradicate: famine and hunger and religion and wars. But that's for another topic, I think. I'll try and go for 3 kind of more sort of basic things. I'm going to go for smartphones. By all means, let's keep our Nokia so we can send a text and we can phone. But I would gladly see smartphones disappear because I just get really really sad when I'm out and about, whether I'm driving, whether I'm on a train, wherever, and every single person is staring at a screen. And you get people going out for a meal together and they're both on their screen, they're sitting staring at it. You can't have a conversation with anybody. We're so preoccupied about, instead of living for the moment, we're just wanting to see, and people were at the Eagles concert and they're too busy bloody filming it. All right, I'll put my hands up. I filmed Hotel California because I wanted to kind of capture it. But people. I mean, I saw a girl pushing a pram, and she was pushing a pram, and she had like a toddler, or little, she had a wee girl or wee boy, whatever it was, and she didn't have the hand of the toddler. The toddler was kind of trying to keep up. She had one hand on the pram, another hand was looking down at her phone, and she's just and the wee girl's walking along. Now that's a moment you'll never get back again. That girl's going to look back years to come and think, Christ Almighty, I wish my daughter had. I wish I'd spent more time and with my kids instead of staring at screens.
I'd go one bit further with that one, because I tell you what, one of the pet hates is seeing a mother with a pram in front of them, because they're looking at their phone while approaching a zebra crossing. and I'm scared,
yeah.
and I'm scared to death because I'm always slowing down at a zebra crossing, but I'm always thinking as well, what if it wasn't me that was here? What if it was the person that's behind me? That person's not susceptible to what's going on, and just went straight across that zebra crossing because when you're approaching the zebra crossing, that's not your intent to cross over. So the car has got the right of way to go, right, I'm going over this.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
and,
know.
and I'm scared to death of mothers, and they're always on their phones. I
Mhm.
don't want to bad mouth mothers because I don't think that's fair. I'm not generalizing for everybody, but I see too much of it. That's the thing. But anyway, yeah, good one, smartphone.
Yeah, I get ready smart. I mean, when I'm
Would you
in my
like to go?
bed or whatever.
Would you like to go back to pages then? And do you think there was a time just before the smartphone came out, like pages, that was a much more simplified time and actually wasn't too intrusive? Because then you're not looking at your smartphone. You have to go away to actually answer that particular
Mm.
call, and you're
No,
just been notified that there's something that's urgent.
I think I do think I think the fact I like the fact that you can pick the phone up on phone. I think that's good. There's so many times where an emergency, whatever. I like the fact that you've got a phone, but not. On that I can play games. I can be on Facebook, and we can do whatever. I just do away with the smartphone part of it,
Yeah.
or even make it that the smartphone aspect of it only works if you've got Wi-Fi. So by all means, you can have this, but I've got to be in the house to use it. When I go outside, the only part that works is the phone part of it.
Yeah,
And
mate, wouldn't it be wonderful if the world only worked where Facebook only works if your phone's plugged into the mains? You'd stop the world. Somebody would find a way around it. But anyway.
Yeah. Graham Nichols saying he's going to Blackpool for Rebellion Festival in August and his phone's getting left at home. I completely respect Steve 8-Bit saying that he doesn't actually own a phone. We managed perfectly without them. We really did, and now we feel the need to constantly phone. I mean, I use it for luxury. I mean, I'll be driving to Lee's and I'll bloody give you a phone. I don't need to phone you, but I just do it. It's because it's there. But the number of times I could probably count in one hand the number of times that I've desperately needed a phone. Phones are great, if you're whatever it is, but get rid of smartphones. At least make them that you can't use them unless you're with a Wi-Fi. Second thing is, and Steve's mentioning there, sorry, he's going about war, racism, sexism. Absolutely, they're 100%. But to keep it more kind of light-hearted, when I buy a game, everything's there. So by all means, make me work, make me earn points, or you've got to kill so many people to then get coins to upgrade to a machine gun, whatever. Don't make me have to go online and buy downloadable extra stuff.
So that's the monetization of gaming. Yeah, that's the bit that you hate, the monetization.
If I want to play Ronaldo or bloody Lionel Messi, I want to have earned enough money through managing a club to be like, I can now afford to pay him his 250 grand a week. I don't want to spend £17 to buy it. It's like that's why I rarely, if ever, play games on Android phones now, because it's almost impossible. When I pay my money, I want to have the full game. I don't want to have to piss about and have adverts and all that kind of stuff. And that's why Android games in particular are horrendous. It's virtually impossible to get a game that you buy and it's just, there's no adverts or anything at all. So downloadable extras, all that kind of shite. I would like us to go back to basics. You buy a game, you've spent your $24.99, you put your game into your computer or your PlayStation 4 and it just works. What else?
Well, that's free.
What was the other one? What was the smartphone downloadable stuff? That was it.
I thought you said there was. I thought you came up with another one that you said.
No, I don't think so. Anything else I'd like? Reality TV. I'll leave it there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with any of that.
Yeah, Reality TV had it. Reality TV had its place. I remember watching the very, very first Big Brother, and that was quite interesting. But everything else since then, I mean,
Well,
we've got to a point.
Big Brother was the thing that tied us up in one of the first conversations we had. I said, because I was in Manchester when Big Brother came out, because it was the year 2000, but it was advertised as the big experiment. It was supposed to be an experiment that if you put people in a tight room, what would happen if you did this? And it was mentioned.
Yeah.
It was mentioned in Ghostbusters 2. I don't know if you remember the scene in Ghostbusters 2. There was two people arguing, and they said, "Right, we're going to turn the temperature up by 5 degrees and see whether they argue more. Then we're going to take the puppy away." Right, that's what it was. And if the walls were red as well and the temperature was warm, does that affect an argument? And that's the experiment. And that's where you're going, hey, this is going to be interesting. What they did was they turned it into a militarized piece of shit. Oh, you'll pay more money to see them have to have a bath of baked beans or something, and it's just it wasn't the experiment that I thought with the first series. So I stopped watching. Oh, have we gone? Oh.
Don't know when. Now and again. Can you hear me there, Peg? Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was me. Sorry.
No, I don't know what was going on. You get now and again in StreamYard, you get like the wee. It looks like the Wi-Fi thing. It's like poor reception. Now I'm hardwired to the router, so I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, we're back. But yeah, reality TV for me, mate. Listen, I was hoping to actually conclude this exactly 2 hours, but we've only got 40 seconds, and we've got one last. Question from Milfy. What 3 things within reason and not too far-fetched would you like to see invented within your timeline? Was that one that he's asked you already?
Yes, it's the exact same question. So I've got my 3, so you just do yours.
What would I like to see invented? Again, obviously.
I know one of them because you've given the answer once before.
Obviously, again, we're not going to have like infinite food and eradicate poverty and all that kind of stuff. It's got to be kind of fun.
Well, shall I tell you what one of them was? You said, I'd like to be able to sit in front of a TV and have holographic TV where you just switch everything on and everything's all there. And that's the one that you've always given us. But you far away now. You've got 2 others now.
Yeah, that'd be nice. You go into your living room and you say VR jump, and you're just within it. Everything's wireless, everything's cordless. That would be quite nice. What else would I like to see invented in the timeline? I would love for somebody to come up with a means of like flying, and I don't mean in a plane. I mean actually you feel like you're flying, almost like a kind of jetpack, hand glider type thing. That would be bloody awesome. Something that was portable, something that you could just you could strap on and away you go. That would be bloody good. Anything else? I don't know. Space travel. Bloody. What do you call it?
It can't be far fetched. He said.
Oh, it can't be far fetched. I don't know.
Don't worry, I am Denard.
Here we go. Even in Ox, you've just joined the last minute. A mobile phone. Just that's kind of falling on. A mobile phone that you can get a reception anywhere, because right now we might have 5G, but you can still go somewhere and you go, I can't get a signal, mate. So sort your act out, phone companies. A mobile phone that you can always get a signal.
Yeah. That's free.
I don't know, a battery that lasts. Again, I'm kind of going back to something that, as I said, I don't want, like a smartphone. Batteries that actually last more than 5 hours, whatever. I don't know. Now I've probably got that phone I've got lasts ages. Christ, I don't know. I think maybe I need to have a bit of time to think about this one. It's to try and put you on the spot.
I know. I had half a day to think about it, so I was all right.
All right, okay, right. This isn't too far fetched. Something kind of that something similar to a Mister. I want a device that I can have plugged into my TV, and it'll have I just go into the option menu, right? What do you want to play? Commodore 64. It's got every game built in, Spectrum, PlayStation 5, whatever. And you just bring out in it, you press the button and then the keyboard flips out. So when I'm playing the Spectrum, it's the rubber keyed Spectrum keyboard. And I've said this before, I think there's potentially, maybe there's not money to be made in it. If somebody could invent a USB Commodore 64 keyboard, then for something that's not stupid money, for like £10, you can buy an Amstrad CPC keyboard, and plugged into the side of the keyboard, you can have a proper Atari joystick. So the thing about emulation, we're now living in we're now in a place where we can play all these games. Commodore 64 Spectrum play perfectly. Let's be honest with you.
That was in one of our waffles, Alan, because I turned around and said I think the future will be that 3D printing will allow us to be able to 3D print a keyboard, and therefore you could just go, right, I want the design for the Amstrad CPC keyboard, and then you'll print it on your 3D printer, and bang, there you are. You've got your 3D, and it'll be the same for the Commodore 64 and one for the Spectrum.
Yeah, but the day something comes along now, I mean, we're kind of there with the Mister, and I know Colin's going to argue with me, but you know, you've still got to fanny about with it. It's still not switch it on and then use a menu and pick Commodore 64 and you know whatever it is, and you've got the proper controllers. I want to be able to just play any system at all, and it plays perfectly, and you've got your scan lines and that kind of stuff. If they come out with something like that, preferably that's wireless, I can just have on the coffee table, put it to HDMI 3, boom, there we go. There's my all-in-one box. You know, we're kind of there with the RetroPie. I've stopped playing my RetroPies quite a bit because the old lag thing kind of annoys me, and games don't really play perfectly, and some games play too fast, and you're using it with a bloody joystick, you're using a controller and all that. So yeah, an all-in-one box that's got every single game that I'm ever want to play, and it's wirelessly, it connects wirelessly, and more importantly, you've got the plug-in keyboard and you've got the actual controller. So that's not too much to ask, I don't think.
No.
I'm sure
I'll have one ready for you tomorrow. There you are.
Fantastic. Right. We've overshot. We were going to stick to an hour. We're 2 hours and 4 minutes. Bar Dell turning up late and going offline for
it was my fault.
So anyway, listen, guys. Thanks for watching it on a Friday afternoon. Sunday afternoon, even. Yeah. I don't like. That's how much I love you guys. Because of real life, I wasn't able to do a waffle now. I could have quite easily have just said, well, we'll do one next Friday. But I don't like to miss them. I like to get them in. And more importantly, massive thanks to you, Dale, for coming in. It always makes it a lot more fun having somebody to kind of talk to.
As well. My pleasure. I love it. Me.
Good stuff. So listen, guys, I will see you hopefully in about 4 hours' time. Jesus.
Don't forget at 9 o'clock I have to get my mum a burger, so don't overrun.
No, the Ox is asking, does this mean no gaming stream tonight? No, I'll be along at 7 o'clock, Ox. It's just a free-for-all MAME arcade thing, something a bit kind of easy to do. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.
Just remember, I need to write it down. So you need to make it clear what I'm writing down. All right.
All right, then, guys. Till next time. Take care. Cheers for watching.
Bye.
See ya.